Congress will be with us here on the broadcast. Before we get back to Olive, James, I was on you. I'll come to you, Mutumishi. I have not picked his mind on the question that was raised regarding the pursuing of the interest and the unity of purpose that was expressed.
Thank you very much. While I'm answering that question, it is simple and clear. We are getting united. When you talk about the church, everyone has been placed to the wall. Our bishops, the Catholic Church, Bishop Muheria, the ACK Church, and again there are other churches. I don't want to mention them. If you read in our daily newspapers, even in the church you hear the preaching, they are getting united. While I congratulate you, I remember, and this is what I want to tell you, that even the church and the local authority, they are sympathizing with you. Why I'm saying so is simply because there was sometimes back, I think 2 or 3 a month ago, the government organized a multi-sectoral, I think, symposium for you, and you refused. Is that so? I support wholeheartedly, simply because this movement you are having can be hijacked. Nobody should form a committee of how they are going to have a dialogue with you. He is the judge, he is the lawyer, and he is the prosecutor. How do you think the judgment is going to be delivered?
Okay.
Can you see? So I am giving an assurance. Even those who are keeping quiet, it is that they are keeping quiet not to be intimidated. You know, the capacity of thinking between all of us is not the same. We are born with different chromosomes. Is that so? So your chromosomes may be behaving against mine, and mine may be behaving against you. But at the end of the day, me and you, we will need a plate of food on the table. Yeah. Is that so? So even those who are keeping quiet, I better tell you the truth, they are coming up. Thank you.
Okay. Mutumishi, because you'll be with us in the next panel, so allow me to engage these young voices. Yeah, Olive.
Something very small I wanted to say about what Cosmas said.
Yes, yeah.
You know, this is about hijacking their movement, you know, which I think is important here. I have already said, I indicated to you, and I want you to be thinking about it, is about the conspiracies among and organized by the leaders. So that is what you should be careful about. But nevertheless, in our time, we still consulted the old people. I can tell you, Jaramogi Oginga Odinga was centrally in our movement. We thought it was important to bring in Kenneth Matiba. There are some characters who I don't mention here because their names have never come up. But I can tell you, some of the old guards that were with us were more than 70 from across the country. We never, at any one time, declined their advice because they knew the beginning and they knew at what point we were in. The biggest problem that you may have is to have pretenders among you who are going to betray you later.
Asante. And as I throw it back to Olive, we will be, of course, exchanging our panel as we had communicated. Javas Bigambo will be joining us, policy and governance commentator, Mark Ouko, the coordinator of the National Youth Council, and Saba Churchill, who is the coordinator of the National Civil Society Congress, will be with us. Now, to you, Olive, and sandwiched in the midst of the young voices.
Yes. So we begin with Nicholas Maina, who's next to me here. He has a question.
Okay, good evening. My name is Nicholas Maina. At that time, we could identify the Saba leaders. We love the Gen Z because it is a movement. But one thing that has been disturbing me is that they claim they are leaderless, they are religionless, they are partyless. Nature has it that any society set up or movement must have leaders. My question is to Njeru. How can you advise this movement, because they have got the energy, the intellect, and everything they have been gaining since last year seems to be losing steam in. How can you advise them to organize themselves so that at their voices and what they are agitating for can have meaningful purpose? Because in any society, we cannot be, in any movement, it cannot have effect if it has no leaders or set of leaders. That is my question.
Thank you so much, Nicholas. We also have a Gen Z who's sitting not too far from him. His name is Walter Justus.
Good evening. I'm Walter Justus, a student of law at the University of Nairobi. And as one of you said, on a scale of 1 to 10, it was an 8 based on the succession of the 9 of the Saba protests. And there are many ways to skin our cat. The current generation, it has protested on various social media platforms. It has gone on TikTok, on X Spaces, Instagram, and I've even seen some of the Kenyans who are abroad. They have gone to the streets and they have protested there. Your Saba was a success, and we have tried everything. Last year, we went to the streets. There was no change, and even if there was change, it was very minimal. There was very minimal change. This year, the people have gone to the streets. Still, there's no change. So we want to turn now to the old, the previous generation, because at times old is gold, to tell us what can we do different in the upcoming protests that will ensure success. Yeah.
All right, thank you for those questions, Walter. We've had 2 gentlemen, and now in the interest of gender balance, we will have 2 ladies. There's a lady. Do you mind if I cut through here? Yeah. Oh, thank you so much. All right, so there's a lady in a beret who had raised her hand right at the start, so I don't want to leave her out. Please introduce yourself and 1 question.
Hi, everyone. My name is Precious Howie. I'm in the movement of Gen Z Revolution movement. And first of all, I'll just tell people that Gen Z is just an ideology. So anyone with great ideas, he or she can join us. First of all, I'll have this question was supposed to be for Cosmas, and he has left. But one person will answer for him. He has been telling us that Raila has not been doing protest for Saba, and we have been there since that time. I think so. During Saba, Raila could have stayed somewhere, us come out, and then we wait him come. But the difference between Gen Zs and Raila's demonstration, we come, we fight together. The unity for the Gen Zs and the unity for the former's demonstration is different. So I'll urge them to tell them that we are fighting for this cause. Police brutality is still continuing. This is 35 years, and we're still being killed in the streets. This is 35 years. We don't have good education in our country since our Kenya Kwanza government took the government. So we are urging our panelists, please, while we are answering us, please don't favor anyone, because our country is going down, and we cannot go down while we are seeing it.
All right, that is Howie's question. We'll take 1 more from a lady. Don't worry, I see all your hands. We'll try and take as many questions as we can. But right now we have, let me see if the mic is on. Yes, we have Purity Ngungu.
Good evening. Yeah, I'm Purity Ngungu. Purity Ngungu is the incoming MCA Nairobi South 2027. I I think I'll just go straight to my point. Like I advise the government, if I know it is possible for our country to make deliberations and discuss issues. We don't have to see our sons and daughters being killed. We don't have to see them being shot for no reasons, because what we are discussing, they are matters concerning our country, and Kenya is our home. We want peace. Whatever we are discussing, it is because the Gen Zs are suffering. They have no jobs, yet they are educated. It is not like those days when the educated just got jobs directly without struggling. So it is possible for us to be peaceful. So I request them to have at least a moment and discuss and listen to our views and know why we are going to the streets. It is not because we want the bloodshed, but we want peace. We want our issues heard. We want to get the jobs.
Right.
Thank you.
Purity, I'm right here behind you. So because, if you'll allow me, Ayub, because Purity's was more of an observation or a plea, allow me to move one more lady.
Thank you very much. My name is Cynthia Mwikali, a Kenyan citizen from Zitech University. So everyone has been airing out about the issues that you are trying to bring out as the Gen Zs. But on my own perspective, I feel like we need first of all to understand the Saba, and we need to educate even people out here about the Saba. So how would we try to bring it out to our citizens, my fellow Kenyan citizens, that Saba it's not all about airing out our issues, but trying to finish the business that was unfinished. As our honorable or our good leader, Mr. Njeru, said, to him, Saba it's mourning. It brings sadness to him. So my direct question is, for the Gen Zs, do you think that they should be joining in mourning the people who also passed during the other protest, or should they be airing out the issues that they are oppressing them to bring a better change? Thank you.
Ayub, do you want to take those ones first, or can I take
some questions? 5, Olive, and then you'll be coming to the two front row seats. Then okay, we can take other 4
Ayub
questions.
Has committed for me, and I will do so.
Yes, yeah, sure, she will come. Mutumishi, you have 2, but allow me to also make an introduction of the changes that we have made to the new panelists. Javas Bigambo, Police and Governance Commentator, thanks for your time. And Suba Churchill is the Coordinator of the National Civil Society Congress. Gentlemen, thanks for your time. Before you respond to that, Njeru Gadhangu, Javas, there is a point by Precious of the identification of political personalities to protest. For example, what the former Prime Minister spoke about. Has that been effectively diluted by how this generation woke up and responded to some of the governance calls?
Well, thank you, Ayub, and I'm happy to be here tonight. I've been following the discussions and the questions that have been raised by, I think, was it Purity, as well as Mwikali. And I think tying that to what Honorable Raila Odinga has spoken to, and the issue of the interlink between these generations that have lived their times apart. There's the generation of the Saba, and now the Gen Z. I would say that there are interlinks, but we also have got contradictions or contrasts in terms of objectives, interests, and goals. Now, she's talked about the issues of jobs, and let me put it into context, because tonight we're sitting at the intersection of history, the history of the past, and what is happening today. I contextualize it in terms of social and political movements. Saba was a political movement to try and introduce and entrench multipartyism. Today, the Gen Z from last year, 2024, it is a socio-political movement that is being driven with the interest of accountability, jobs, good governance, all these ideals that are in Article 10, Sub-Article 2 of the Constitution. But we have got some misses there. For instance, and I like being practical and real, today, when we look at what has happened now and what happened during the time of Mheshimiwa here, when they were pushing for multipartyism during the KANU era, and she said they want to understand the issues to do with the Saba Saba, it was to ensure that the one-party state that was oppressive opens up the spaces to accommodate other leaders who could not find a home within KANU that was ostracizing or constricting political participation. But there was no push, for instance, to throw out Moi at the time, for instance. They were not pushing for jobs. They were pushing for multipartyism. And that multipartyism has made this country better, as a matter of fact. Today, what the Gen Z are doing, they're doing a good job when they say that they want accountability, they want transparency, they want jobs. But I think the contrasts here could be the methodology. Because as the Saba Saba leaders at the time, and they had leaders, the contrast here, for instance, then Gen Z have said that they don't have non-leaders. Second contrast is that the aspect, or similarity, first of all, is the aspect of violence. Leaders at the time, they were manhandled by the police. Today, because people died then, today we've had people die, we have had policemen injured, we have had young men and women get injured. But when you look at Article 37, Ayub, which says that everyone has got a right to demonstrate, to protest, to assemble, that right is a right for everyone seated here tonight and elsewhere, protected by the Constitution. Nobody can deny you that right. But the right to demonstrate is the right to do right, not the right to do wrong. And as citizens and as Kenyans, we can then get to a point of agreeing or disagreeing. That, as a matter of fact, as we assemble, picket, protest, demonstrate to do right, with the benefit of retrospect of what happened 1.5 weeks ago, when an assembly or a demonstration is not peaceable, when people are armed by rungus, for instance, when people are armed by pelvic weapons, where women are raped when they are coming to demonstrate, because today I sit here feeling ashamed and feeling like crying because my sisters, my aunts, a few of them were raped a week and a half ago when they came to demonstrate. That is not part of the Article 37.
So where is the blame here? Who is to blame?
And look, we are not looking, I'm not just looking to blame.
Yes.
We need to rationalize these issues.
Yeah.
One, as a matter of fact, the state or the government should not stop people from demonstrating or protesting. But second, whether, and you know, by the way, Article 37 is conditional, that it must be peaceable and unarmed. When any person comes to a demonstration armed, for instance, it lifts that right. Secondly,
but Javas, where do we draw the line? Because the question is then, how do we justify in an era of social media and technology where police land cruisers are escorting armed men in CBD?
I will answer like this. We need to have police protecting protesters. All right? Now, let's face it. And as a matter of fact, we have got policemen who've gone against the law. They need to face the law. Let's face it, as a matter of fact, that when a police officer is trigger happy, we need to have them face the law. All right? Don't we agree that? Let them face the law. Let's pick that police officer who is trigger happy. All right? The line is this for me, as a matter of fact. When you ask what's the line that, yes. In fact, there must be a red line. As a matter of fact, a police officer must not harm a protester. All right? Secondly, a protester should not come to a protest armed in any way, whether carrying a rungu, whether carrying a sword, or even those that are coming with the intention of raping. women must be protected, protesters must be protected. All right? So that's where I look at it.
Okay. Saba, coming to you.
Yes.
Walter Justus from the University of Nairobi School of Law pointed out the achievements as illustrated here by Mtumishi and the others who lived the moment as 8 out of 10. But he says there's minimal change achieved by this. What is your relation at the time? Of course, you witnessed it then and now as to the achievements, as to what's been achieved by last year's events and this year also celebrating the events of last year.
Thank you very much. First of all, as one who was already a student activist at the university at the time of the original Saba Saba, I must admit that the system then, the leadership then was brutal, though the current one is doing very well to catch up in terms of brutality. But the system then was very ruthless. But they were cautious, and I think giving credit where it is due, there was a way in which, ruthless as he was, Moi used to show some sensitivity to public opinion. And he used to retreat and would look for any opportunity to enter into dialogue with whoever his antagonists were. But directly to your question as to whether we achieved in the original Saba Saba, yes, there were concrete steps that were made. First of all was the repeal of Section 2A that had initially not just, provided that Kenya shall be a one-party state by law, but went on to even name the party. Because the mischief was, after Kenya became a one-party state, and initially it was not provided which party it was, I remember the late Jaramogi and George Anyona and colleagues, and I think Mheshimiwa Gadangu was part of that team, forming a party. The original NDP, a lot of us know about NDP that Jaramogi's son Raila formed later. But there was an original NDP that got me suspended from my high school, because as soon as they announced the colors of the party, we got a piece of cloth, painted it on the colors, on those colors, and hanged it on a hill. And you can imagine doing that in the Rift Valley where I went to school. And so I looked at the situation as security people kept on coming by and just left. And I never even went back for my box. Secondly, the original Saba Saba achieved the introduction of the two-term limits that we enjoy to date. So that those of us who were privileged again, later on in 2002 and 2003 and 4, to write the Constitution of Kenya 2010 at Bomas during the National Constitutional Conference, merely streamlined that into the system. It also opened space because Kenyans, for the first time, demonstrated that they could stand out to a dictatorship, a one-party dictatorship that had a lot of support from the international community and so on and so forth, and opened channels for collaboration and partnership with the same international community. Those of you who may want to spend tomorrow, just researching on Saba Saba, because not everybody must go to demonstration. There are many ways of observing Saba Saba, as I will shortly illustrate. But you can also go to protests. You can go to the rally being convened at Kamkunji and so on. If you research on the original Saba Saba, you will realize that some of the dynamics, and when we came in, a gentleman asked a question there and asked, what is it that they can do differently? I think even without the advantage of social media, that has enabled your generation to mobilize like instant coffee, the way you people mobilize is that all you need is hot water, beverage, and abracadabra, you have coffee. Now, during our time, the modus of mobilization was so tedious that we had to print flyers, material, printed paper, and we would sneak with them to football matches to sensitize people, because the only broadcaster then, KBC, would not allow any announcement of a meeting of political, opposition political leaders. Now, the social media has its advantages and disadvantages that those of us who were there then are able to see. One of the disadvantages of social media mobilization is that as Gen Zs mobilize, they are not able to get together to concretize agenda and strategy. They cannot agree on common agenda and common strategy. For example, if I were to use the 25th of June protests, I could clearly see that there was messaging around occupying State House. During the protest, there was disagreement, including with some members of parliament and the Senate, and Omtata stood out, saying that was not part of the agenda. And so there are advantages that go with social media mobilization and disadvantages as well. Now back to your line, yes, drawing the line. It is the primary duty and responsibility of government, one, to respect the right to protest. Secondly, to protect every citizen out there to protest. And thirdly, the right of and the duty of the government to fulfill, in other words, facilitate citizens to protest against it. When we talk about protecting, one, the government must protect protesters from itself, because we know that governments the world over have the monopoly of instruments of coercion. So if there's anybody who would want to endanger the life and rights of a citizen during protest, it is the responsibility, including its own security agents. Two, we must recognize that the right to protest is an expression of so many other rights. One, it is a consolidation of the right to freedom of association. Yes, of course, you can protest as an individual, as a conscientious objector. Nobody will stop you. But of course, a few people will doubt your sanity. What's wrong with this guy? Is the lone guy protesting? But the law says, gives that right, Article 37, everyone. So you can even protest as an individual. And you have had so many in history. Yeah. Conscientious objectors like Rosa Parks, like Martin Luther King when he started, like Mahatma Gandhi when he looked strange to his own people in India after moving from South Africa to India to begin the fight for independence of India, which he attained in 1957, after which his own people killed him because they thought he was too moderate. Lastly, and as I finish, when you set out to protest, it is your duty, and I'm now addressing, Honorable Esther Passaris. Protesters have the right to choose the location of their protests. And that is Principle 17 of the International Principles of the Right to Protest. These things are principles recognized the world over, which our government has an obligation to respect. If, for example, the head of state feels insecure that people will invade his space, of course, State House is his official residence, it's not the office. He can, for example, say, ladies and gentlemen of Gen Zs, I'm ready to receive your petition at Harambee House. That's the office. Unfortunately, since our current president took over office, I do not remember even any traffic snarl-up where he has been caught up in heading to Harambee House. So Gen Zs may be tempted, as you have been, to try to take your messaging to State House, which, in my view, is also a protected area, and which, as protesters, you must be alive to, that when people in power panic, because our current government is in a state of panic, you also need to weigh your options and really discuss thoroughly whether you really want to reach State House. Because when that place, they're allowed to terminate life. Because the president is a property of the people. The people have given him certain instruments of coercion to make sure that the president is safe. Because, like him or not, his sudden demise can lead to so many things. And that's why my role in participating in this was to say, one, we must underscore, it is your right to protest, it is the duty of government. But even as you protest, and I want to slightly disagree with my friend, for the many years that I've participated in protest, and this is my 31st year in the civil society, I've never seen a protester coming with any arm. The only thing they normally reach to are stones, which they get from destroying, road embankments and so on. But make sure that you play victim in this struggle. Never, ever be the culprit. Never, ever be the culprit. Always try and endeavor to play victim. Play victim, and you will carry the public with you.
Point made.
The moment you become a culprit, you lose the public.
Okay, thank you.
You need their moral support to continue. You need the small-scale business people along Racecourse Road who are today reinforcing their premises with no stock at all. Maybe they'll go for things on credit and stuff. Make sure that, one, you organize yourself in cells so that every group has a group of people who can marshal them and say, these are the do's and don'ts. Even if you mobilize through social media, I'm sure you come from institutions of learning, so you know each other. Some come from certain neighborhoods, so you know each other, so that there's some sense of discipline, and so that you do not continue pushing the government into a state of panic, because I've cautioned you, when people are in power and get into a state of panic, they can go with the whole country.
Thank you. Njeru, yes. The leaderless question, Cynthia Mwikali also pointed out that is this about mourning the people who had struggled in the past, or is it about the cause advanced by the current generation?
Yes, first of all, I think what Saba said is beautiful. I also want to say that what we see on the streets is strange managed sometimes. When you look at some protesters with rungus and batons and what have you, those are not our people. Yes. Those are police people. Yes. Let me give us more examples, sir. That recently there was a report that Kikuyu police station was burnt down. Now, if you think about people moving to a police station where askaris or policemen are armed, right? And the people are moving to touch it, surely they should be able to find at least one policeman in the station. In this particular one, there wasn't one. Number two.
Mutumishi, then how do we...
No. Number two.
You'll proceed. I'll give you the time. Then where do you place what then happened to Mawego police station, where police officers were struggling to put out the fire?
Very good.
When the station was set ablaze?
Very good. So that is Mawego and there is Kikuyu.
Yeah.
Now, the two of them are different.
Yeah.
Kikuyu is playing to the gallery that the policemen have been attacked by the people, right? And there is reason. Every political reason is in Kikuyu, and I think I see it myself. If others don't see it, I'm sorry about it. That there was no police station. There was no policeman. And the people are not armed. We are not even told who are these people that burned. But it was burned. The next day, there is a report all over the place that Kikuyu police station was burned. No arrest. Nobody was hurt. Nothing. So meaning that there is a policeman, a clever policeman, that decided to burn his own police station. And that is exactly the same.
Yeah.
So, what I'm trying to say is, Abdikadil, what I'm trying to say is that the disappearances we have had in this country are police conducted. And then they release some of them appropriately in order to pacify the people, right? But the next thing that we must remember is this, that the policemen are as scared as the government is scared. They are instructed about what to do with the young people going out there. But let me tell you, I have looked at this crowd. Since I came, I've looked at them, I think, 8 times, and I've identified about 7 policemen here. Now, listen.
How did you identify?
No. Listen. At least the one I know.
Yeah.
The one I know. And don't hide yourself because now I've refilled it. This is what I encourage, that whatever you do in this meeting, please get the right record. Push it to your bosses so that they can pass it over to the high office, so that they know what it is that these young people are thinking about. Go to the streets and hear them and give the same report, because that is where dialoguing is going to be emanating from, and that is where the policy is going to be articulated. You cannot just give orders that people be eliminated by guns. When will you ever know what they thought about? When will you ever know what their feelings were? So, have the Gen Zs failed? That was a question that came from here.
From Walter Justus.
Yes, and I can tell you, it is success 100%. Why is this? If you listen to the president and every minister, they are complaining about Gen Zs, meaning they have gotten the message. And that message is what dilutes the spirit of a dictator or a creeping dictator. Meaning that sooner or later, they will step back a bit and say, let's listen to these people. After all, it has happened in various countries. Storming parliament, I think, was the 14th in the world. Kenya has got a number.
Allow me to pose you on that, okay? You have made your point.
I'm sure you know, what I'm saying.
Yes.
What I'm saying is this.
I'll give you the time. You'll respond. You'll respond to my questions.
Yes.
And we have some order. You talked about the storming of parliament, because it brings me back to the point of, again, what happened to Mawego police station.
Correct.
We have talked about the debate on having a sane country governed by the rule of law and respect for institutions.
Yes.
How then should I describe your opinion on what happened to Mawego police station, where we saw officers struggling to put out the fire, and also what happened to the judiciary, which was touched last year as the Gen Zs marched to Parliament, and also City Hall, the seat of the governor of Nairobi County, and as well as Parliament, which was partly also touched. Should institutions in a democracy ought not to be protected for sanity?
Correct. And the very first thing, my friend Abkadil and my friends here, is that if you do not respect the law which you have yourself made, and you cannot respect the constitution which the people have given you, and you go around the country taking, grabbing, killing, and what have you, the people get to a point and ask themselves, are we cattle in the field, or are we the creators of these leaders? There comes a point where people get so annoyed, and you can actually see it's out of frustration and desperation that you can have people taking a coffin and walking 6 kilometers to a place where they think this is where the man was held, and put it on fire. It is because, and the government can be able to stop that. They can stop it because now they can see the power, the authority, the energy, the annoyance, and therefore the hopelessness the people have got into.
Thank you.
And change the situation.
Asante.
What I was saying is this.
Yes, Suba, I'll come to you. Allow us again.
What I was saying is
yes,
this.
Please, yeah.
That therefore, Gen Zs have actually won the battle so far. Okay. The only one thing is the government should be able to listen further to them so that they can address them.
Asante. Yes, Olive.
Right, as you can see, karibu kila mtu ameinua mkono. You told me the first 2 rows, right?
The first line.
The first row. Okay, ladies, let me just, because we had 3 ladies, so let me just pick 2 gents first.
Yeah. And you keep your question brief and short?
I'll be as short as a miniskirt, but long enough to cover the essential. So, just to answer you first, how is it that City only touched where accounts records were? Watu si wajinga bwana. And then, to these questions, to Javas, I want to point out,
please,
my name is Fidel Castro Ngoy, and I'm also a law student at UON. I want to tell you something that our senior James Agri Orengo once said. There are 2 rules to this game. The oppressor will be judged for oppressing the oppressed, and us, the oppressed, will be judged for allowing the oppressors to oppress us. If you continue to sympathize with this government, it will harm you more than it will harm me. Yeah. To my question, And this is just a message to the Gen Zs. Yeah. Our task here is to pick up the torch of liberation, to fight for this equity. Let us not buy rumors from these people. The same thing Saba was fighting for is oppression. We are facing an employment oppression here, where they're employing people from one community. We are facing economic exclusion from this country. We are facing corruption and injustice and bad governance from the same repressive regime that was mentored by Daniel Arap Moi.
Okay.
Not that we don't know what we are doing. So,
right,
to my question,
yes.
let me just finish in 30
please.
seconds.
Yes,
in 30 seconds.
In less, if you can, please.
I want our wise man here, and it is good that you are not a forefather. Please, advise us, mentor us, bless us on how we can go forth with this, because we want to take this opportunity. We want to fagia water.
Okay, thank you, Fidel. Thank you for your... I'm not sure if there was a question in there, but a lot of observations. Let's hear from this young man here. Straight to the question, please, so that as many people as possible can ask questions.
I understand the assignment. Yeah. My name is James Mulamba, and before I get to my question, I will draw some similarities between 1990 and today. We had a despot in power in 1990, we have a despot today. Moi consolidated power in 1990, Ruto has consolidated power today. We were in a one-party state in 1990, we are in a one-party state today. Yes. We are in the same situation we were in 1990. So telling us that we have a reason to celebrate is mocking us. We do not have a reason to celebrate. The only thing we'll celebrate tomorrow is Albert Ojwang's birthday. We have every reason to suspend all celebrations till next year, July, Saba. We do not have any business to celebrate. As I get to my question, what then happens if the people are tired of the marriage they are in? If the people want to divorce their president? What happens if the people want to destroy the social contract between them and the government? Do we then invoke Article 1 and say that we the people want to impeach the president, that we the people want to recall the president, and that we want to tell President William Ruto to resign as early as tonight before it gets tomorrow? My question is, yes. Are we allowed to invoke Article 1 and impeach the president?
Okay, second.
All right.
Thank you very much. Viva comrades, viva. Viva. Who are the people?
We are the people.
Who are the people?
We are the people.
I have very short questions here. I am Commissar Jared Oye from the ODM Party, Youth League Delegate. First and foremost, thank you very much, Mtumisi. I want to start by this, and we must agree that Saba was for multipartyism. And today we have many parties which are not having clear standings on where they are in this country and what they support. Tomorrow, as those who will be on the street differently, there are those of us who will be moving to Kamkunji, there are those who will be occupying the streets of Nairobi. My question is, are we also occupying these political parties? We all know that where the policies that run the country are being made are in our political parties. When we had the Kanu problems, they were made in Kanu. Kanu was a political party. We in the ODM, we have policies there. Kenya Kwanza are their policies made in Kenya Kwanza and UDA a party. That is when we young people must occupy those parties and have control and power in them and influence the policies. Number two, Ayub.
Only one question, to be fair.
Yamusho,
we're only 3 years.
30 seconds. Yamusho, to me, thank you very much. When you say that we had a good political liberation, the second liberation, and you agree with us here today, we young people, that on the third liberation that we are fighting, the economic liberation, all of us here are agreeing that one or two reasons why we are here, we are crying about unemployment and lack of jobs. We'll agree with me, Mtumisi, and other panelists that today, the system of education that he touched on eminently. We know in 1965 when Pio Pinto added to go, Pio is one comrade who was championing for political ideology in the Kanu party. And we must agree again, our system of education deliberately ignore the part of political education in our system of education. Will agree with me that these young people today here are struggling to understand the political standing of our country. Thank you.
The audience has said you don't have a question, and your 30 seconds is over.
He did.
There is 2 young ladies, just shortly. This young man has been raising his hand for the longest time.
Thank you. Well, I think, Mimi, I'll just stop all the question I had and ask one And I'll not ask the panel, I'll ask the people, because we are the people. How many of you want Ruto to resign tonight?
Oh, no.
Hands up.
Okay.
We are not going that way,
that's
no.
Hands
the
up.
one-
Just get the
No,
mic.
hands up.
That's the one question.
No.
Let's get some two ladies. Some two ladies, please. Yes? Actually, he's a lady.
Okay, just to stand on my gender, I'm not a lady. I'm a serious man and a serious contributor in this country. My name is Hannington Oguk. I'm a Gen Z from Kisumu. I'm a former president of Meru University and also a national youth leader in KUSO, Kenya University Organization. I'm also an ex-detainee, arrested, tortured, brutalized in Kondele Police Station in 2023 and taken to Kodiaga Maximum Prison, Comrades Power. So when I speak here, I speak as a great contributor in this country. My concern and my question is, who birthed this level of tribalism in our country? Because even us as Gen Zs here, all these things we are talking about, unless we are united, hizi zote zitakuwa tu zitaanguka. Right now, we are having ethnical profiling. When we are fighting against police brutality, inasemekana hiyo ni akina nani? But deep down, was there Kikuyu when I was brutalized? No. And therefore, we as the Gen Z, we have to ensure that we are one. So wakati wenye these leaders, because huko kwa parliament, mwingine ana profile mwingine, ati nyinyi wajaluo, mwingine anamjibu, nyinyi wa Kalenjin, then inakuja kwetu. Ikishafika, now you will be hating me the moment umesikia jina langu ni Oguk. Wewe unataka kusema vitu za nini? So please, let us be united. And lastly, if you were born hating a certain leader, mwenye ameshakuwa kwa government hadi akatoka, please don't hate people from that community. Hate yako na huyo mtu ikae tu huko. But as the Gen Z, let us be one so that we address the issues. Maneza unemployment. Watu wenye washaka kwa hii serikali na wamekuwa wazee. Wa retire. Mtu wako kwa kotu lakini sijui ni how many years old. Some people should retire so that the young people can get the jobs.
Okay. Najua ujumbe umefika. Let's hear from some ladies.
Comrades Power. My name is Ruth Mombi. I'm a human rights defender, and I come from the Women's Collective Kenya. But today here, I'm here as a mother, a mourning mother of this great nation called Kenya. And when any country goes into war, there are spaces that you don't attack. And there are vulnerable people that you don't attack. Those are women and children. There are also like even tents where people go to find refuge. But today, what we have seen, we've seen women who had gone to the Kenya Human Rights Commission to mourn and also to hold the government accountable through a presser being attacked by the government. By the state-sponsored government. I don't have an apology to make about that because they were really categorical on who had sent them. So my question is...
Did they tell you who sent them?
I won't mention, but they said. And my question goes to the three panelists. And if the spirit of Saba Saba is about reclaiming our rights to speak, organize, and resist, what does it mean today if we can attack women and children at the Kenya Human Rights Commission, which is a sanctuary of freedom and civic space? Don't you think that's a shame? 50 plus years of independence and 15 years of our new constitution. Don't you think that we are going a very dangerous road? Because when we see goons being protected by the state, are we not going the Haiti way? I am a mother who is here mourning because the politicians, if we go the Haiti way, the politicians have places to go. Wako na manyumba kule US, lakini sisi tunaenda wapi kama wamama? So that's my question.
All right, thank you. Just, please allow just one question, because the business community says it has not been represented.
Oh, hard. Okay.
Thank you, Ayub. Thank you, panelists. Samuel Iburu from the Economic mpira. My question is based kwa hiyo picha iko hapo nyuma. Let's all look ile picha iko hapo hivyo. Apart from the multitude, we can see there are some guys who are the scene where the tear gas iko. Si ni kweli? Wenye tunajua Kamukoji vizuri, I guess hii ni around hizi stores ziko next kwa uwanja. Si ni kweli? Hizo stores ziko next kwa uwanja is a business community. Leo hii kuna mtu hata wale kwa online ama kwa TV wanaona ile picha, anaangalia hivi anaona kesho this will be a duplication of the last event. The crowds neighborhood is Kikoma Market. We have the Juakali sector. Here along Anesarashi Avenue yote. Kwa hivyo kesho ni kumaanisha hakuna biashara itafanyika kesho. In all this discussion, from the political aspect, from the policy aspect, where is the MSME in this regard? Ni lini tutakuwa wenye professionals wanafanyaga demonstrations like madaktari na walimu wanafanya demonstration yao vizuri na mtu ya dudhi anabeba, Uber inaenda na M-Pesa anafanya. Hii inatokana na venye tumetoka few weeks ago. Personally, I'm a victim of the last protest. In the business sector, if you are not affected, you are infected. So we, as a business community, we are looking for urgent solutions. Maybe they can come from the panelists.
Okay, we'll put it to them.
Yes, I'm basing it on the panelists because we are all informed, direct or indirect.
Thank you.
Kesho ukitoka kwa ofisi mheshimiwa wako kwa ofisi kadogo uko nayo. And the two guys, well knowledgeable guys, mutaenda wapi?
Right.
Let's always have a viable working environment now, not
Right.
tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you.
That,
Six
thank
questions
you.
there.
Thank you very much. Are those sufficient?
Yes, 6 from Fidel, James, Oyer, Oguk, Ruth Mumbi, and Sam, the last speaker. So you can respond. Javas, beginning with you.
Well, I'll pick it up from where Madame spoke, and then the gentleman, and then respond to a few, including this Oguk.
Fidel Castro.
Fidel Castro.
Yeah.
Now, she said that we are likely headed in the wrong direction. As a country, I think, if we look at it objectively, we need to say that we need to reason together. As citizens and as leaders, we need to reason together. When this gentleman speaks about being a victim of his shop being looted, and it happened across town, it happened in various parts of the country. In Nakuru, there is a furniture store that was looted last week during the demonstrations. And the people went to those young people's houses and told them, return every furniture you looted from that store. They returned. When a shop is looted, it's not just a question of the loss to the business person. The livelihood to that family is lost, and even maybe 10, 15 people that he has employed. They lose that. Today, as we're sitting here, about tomorrow, there are a number of business people who are wondering whether their businesses will be part of that. There are ladies who are wondering whether they will fall victim to the goons who raped them, who raped others the other time. That's not the direction that we need to go. We need leaders who are accountable, who are responsive to the people, the issues that people are raising here. Because the duty bearers are and must be responsive to the needs of the people. But secondly, we the people, he asked a question that can we invoke Article 1, we the people, the sovereignty, Article 1 of the Constitution. When you look at Article 2, Sub-Article 2 of the Constitution, speaks about the formation of government. Now, we have a social contract with our leaders. Well, we can voice anytime, as a matter of fact. And I'm speaking, I heard there are a number of lawyers here, some who are students, and some of us who are lawyers as well. And it's a question of reflecting rationally, as a matter of fact. Now, I don't know whether any one of us here has been in a country of war, whether you visited South Sudan or etc. I can assure you that if we were to have our country descend into a state of war, or perpetual anarchy that cannot be controlled, what will happen to us? Because I keep on asking myself, if we incubate the eggs of anarchy, can we hope that chicks of peace and justice will be hatched? It cannot. They cannot be hatched. And that's why it is prudent that if we assemble, for example, to protest and we are peaceable, and then somebody is mishandled or manhandled by the police, I mean, that is improper, that's a violation, and they need to be taken action against by the law. Secondly, Mheshimiwa talked about the issue of attacking police stations. And I think all of us, in fact, the entire world has been surprised. Some of you had reactions from Tanzania that how can police stations be attacked? But we also know that there are people that can be so daring. You see, when we're having protests, don't you agree with me that people leave with various intentions to go to these protests? There are those, like those gathered here, who actually are protesting for accountability, as a matter of fact. Don't we agree on that? But can't we also agree that there could be some who are out because they want to use that opportunity for causing mischief? Well, it's possible, but it's also possible that there are those who are not sponsored, but are criminal elements. As a matter of fact, we live in the society, they are there. Now, I'm talking about us reasoning together. Now, how do we move forward from here? Tomorrow is Saba. We have heard that Raila Odinga and others are going to meet at a particular point. There are those that are going to go to the streets. There are those that will be watching on television from the safety of their houses. There are those who will be tweeting, etc. and whatnot. In all this, I can assure you that from the responses and the questions here, Ayub, everybody here is a patriot. Okay. Everybody here loves this country so much. So what can we do? Because remember, in the next election, some of you here, I'm sure that you're going to run for office. Some of you here, your relatives are in parliament as members of the Senate or National Assembly or MCAs or even governors. Your relatives. You voted for them. Okay. The issue is this. What happens to us when we go to the ballot and vote? He said that we may be speaking here with some particular kind of anger, but when it comes to the ballot, we recoil back to the tribal cocoons.
Okay, thank you.
It is also possible that when some of us here will be voted into office next election, we will be worse than what we are talking about on issues of accountability.
Okay, thank you.
So I think as a matter of fact, we need to reason together and say that whatever is bad should not be done, whether by those in office or with the citizens.
Appreciated. Yes, Saba.
Yes, first of all, starting with my dear friend Gadangu, with whom we once shared an office at UniAfric House in the 90s. My own analysis of what happened in Kikuyu, in Nyandarua, where, you know, again, the county government offices were banned. And based on experience for the last 30 years, is that when regimes feel so vulnerable, they resort to self-preservation. So what normally happens during mass protests, like what happened on 25th, and what is likely to happen tomorrow, if at all there'll be protests, is that the state tends to bring all police officers to Nairobi, leaving stations, particularly those that are close to Nairobi, like Kikuyu, very exposed. So it is very likely that there was probably only one duty officer who, in most instances, would not even wear a uniform. But they would be there just to take stock of things and see and document what happens. And that explains why in Mawego, because there was not such heavy deployment in Nairobi, the police officers were at their station and were probably waiting to provide security to the mourners and so on and so forth, but which got outnumbered. It's not even a police station. It's a police post, and therefore the numbers are quite small. So that may explain. My friend, I'm the founding president of Kenya University Student Organization, founded in 1995, alongside Osieno Namwaya, who now works for Human Rights Watch, Walter Shikuku, and many others. So you need to look for us for the original constitution of the Kenya University Students Organization, and the role that it played in mobilizing students to these struggles that we wage to date. And that is how I found myself as a delegate representing young people at the National Constitutional Conference in 2003-2004. Now, what Bigambo is saying is true, that when some of us went to Bomas, and I was one of the 23 representatives of the NGO sector, was that people who had come from the districts, there were 4 district delegates from each of the 74 districts then, you know, became worse than even the politicians. We had all the MPs there, 210, plus the 12 nominated, 222. But every time we got an opportunity to contribute, people would raise up hand, and it was always district delegates. A lot of them nominated by county councils and municipal councils. And they would be raising hand for more allowances. And you'd be wishing that there is a hole, you can disappear until the question is resolved. So what he's saying is that, by and large, a lot of us today will remain idealistic up to the point when we get an opportunity to also take advantage of the spoils. That's human nature. And that is a Kenyan culture which we must not run away from.
Thank you, Chachi.
Back to the important thing that brought us to today.
Briefly,
and I did promise that I would tell you, there are many ways in which you can, as you have rightly said, observe Albert Ojwang's, birthday. But there are many ways you can do this, and I'm sure a lot of you have gotten educated about Saba and the original, objectives of it. You can deepen that understanding. You can, discuss in small cells what are the lessons that you can learn, what are the values, what are the social impact of Saba in what you are doing today, and what are the opportunities for intergenerational learning, which is happening now because you have Gadangu, who is much older than us. Then you have those of us who are in Gen X. And therefore, what we have learned over the years that we can impart and make your movement, better. But as I finish,
briefly,
you cannot continue as leaderless. Movements the world over grow organically.
Thank you.
A year after the first protest in 2024, leaders in movements emerge. And among you are leaders.
Thank you.
And we have seen them. You need those leaders to guide you so that you can, concretize some of these things.
I'll come to you.
And enter into negotiations with other stakeholders so that you can strengthen your movement and ensure that your objectives are pursued and achieved.
Mzee hasn't spoken. On the advice, mentoring, and blessings, I'll come to you for the final word. So we'll get now the accounts of the area panelists who we had, Cosmas, as well as James and Kidi Mwaga, who are seated at the back with Olive, and they can give us in under a minute each their final comments.
Thank you. Ayub, we'll start with Cosmas Kanyadudi.
Thank you very much. The membership of this forum, I think I've also learned a lot. I have 2 messages. One, to the national leadership currently constituted as United Opposition and the government. Please, it would be advisable for yourselves to be more responsible and demonstrate maturity in your actions and public pronouncements. What you are doing today is reinforcing the effects of the 1969 oaths that were taken, and you know the implications of that. The first explosion that we heard about that was in 2007. We don't want to go back there. My second message is to the Gen Zs. Please remain united. You will only be united if you balance the use of your brain, your mind, and the use of your heart. Let them be balanced so that you are able to be passionate about your actions, but they should be rational. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Kidi Mwaga.
Thank you very much, Ayub. Once again, my name is Kidi Mwaga. I am the convener Interparties Youth Forum. I am mentioning that to underscore the work I do with young people daily, particularly young people in political parties, in youth-serving organizations, and in institutions of higher learning. There is no single individual who is against the government of Kenya. But we are confronting the government daily through Maandamano and other processes because the question of distribution and redistribution of the cake of this country is a conversation we must have. As the young people of Kenya, it is a time we must speak very clearly about the question of baking cake of this country. There are so many young people, graduates who are out of work. There are so many young people dropping out of colleges. There are so many young people who still feel that they do not have a fair shot at upward social mobility.
Thank you.
That is why we must continue agitating for a better country.
Thank you.
We hope our government listens. We hope we are able to work together in this regard. Thank you.
Asante. Yes, James.
Thank you. First, I would like to congratulate the audience because of being very good questions they have been shooting to us. Again, I would like to tell you to keep up the spirit and remain united. Keep up the spirit and remain united. And one thing I would like to say, and because it's a very short thing, you can allow me. This gentleman,
put the mic near.
This gentleman with a God purpose there called Mtumishi Jero Gathangu has been my political mentor and ideological comrade. He's the one who has taught me all those things.
Thank you.
The last is congratulations to our vicar, the guy with the collar. Because you not be having a lot of work uniting these people because what they are fearing is to marry, but not death.
Thank you. Asante.
Keep up the spirit and don't fail. Thank you.
Mtumishi, there was a call for advice, mentorship, blessings. From Fidel pointed out here. And this is the final word, of course.
Yeah, thank you very much. First of all, the man that has spoken, that is Maina. Maina is the missing driver who went missing when we were arrested on the 11th of July, 1990. George Anyona, Edward Oyugi, Ngodwa Kariuki, and myself. He thinned out somehow in through a group of policemen who had escorted the Cicero president to the Embakasi, and they came to Dagoretti Corner for enjoying some meat. And so he escaped through that. But to say this, that my friends, you are in your age and generation, remember the challenge of leading this country tomorrow lies on your hands. That's number one. What my friend is saying here is not a challenge to you, it's a challenge to the government. They are the ones that are supposed to be collecting and correcting ideas and whatever it is, intentions that you have. In fact, what I want to ask is this. Since you gave your 14 points, because I think I remember I read them, 14 points, which the government was supposed to address, my brother, Ruto, how many of them have you addressed? If you have not, you have time to do it now. You know, call them, discuss. And to follow up on what Saba has said, there is no movement or group that does not have a leader. Don't cheat us, don't lie. If somebody was coordinating the messages, was that your messenger? When did you agree that he was the messenger? Number two, people who always gave statements about Gen Zs, who are they? Were they your leaders, were they not? What I'm trying to say is this. You are going to lose a lot of your people because you don't have a leadership. A lot of them are going to go because there is no leader, so we shall be picking the shining one and remove him from you. Pick the shining one, remove him from you, and therefore you remain an empty bag. What I want to advise is this, and that is part of your advancement. The vanguard of the Gen Zs, that vanguard, If you want to save about 2 or 3 or 4 people that you don't mention their names, the vanguard should be able to know that we have got A, B, and C leaders. So-and-so has gone, so-and-so is in. So-and-so has gone, so-and-so is in. And that is political organization. In fact, let me tell you that when I'm talking about the government of Kenya, I know that our president has been in such movements. You know, and it's not a secret. He knows that we have been there with him. He was in the YK Volcano 92. He was the Secretary General of Affairs, and so forth. The leadership is there and must be there. In fact, he must be happy that you have got 21 years old fellows like him in 1990 who are actually campaigning to have things change in this country. Look, we have got 2 sides of the coin. One is that there is the status quo and there is those struggling to dismantle the status quo because of oppression. Now, the status quo is going to fight very hard so that you don't take it. And you are going to be fighting very hard so that at least things can be better.
Asante.
All that, now, Abdikadir, all that is going to depend on how fast you can make them understand. And Ruto and his government are actually going to understand because he has come from there. He knows it.
Asante.
Asanteni sana.
Mutumishi, asante. Much appreciated. Thank you so much. Njeru Gadhangu, ex-MP Runyenjes, lived the moment in 1990. 35 years later, tomorrow marks the 35th year since that had happened. Kidi Mwaga is a lawyer, joined us earlier. Cosmas Kinyadudi is political and policy analyst. James Gakuo, an activist then in 1990, a driver whose story was well told by Njeru. Javas Bigambo, policy and governance commentator. Mark Ouko sent his apologies, couldn't come. Coordinator, the National Youth Council. Suba Churchill is also the coordinator, the National Civil Society Congress. And thank you to our lively audience made up by Kenya's young generation. Over to you, Olive.
Okay, let's clap for our panelists tonight. And please give a hearty clap to yourselves tonight as well. You have sat patiently, you have listened to all the varied opinions, and this is what the Saba spirit is all about: political tolerance and inclusivity in terms of the national dialogue we've been told to have. I know some of you are not very happy with me. Michael Sino is not happy with me because we could not take all the questions, but I appreciate all of you speaking up, sharing your truth, and allowing others to do the same. My name is Olive Burrows. On behalf of Citizen TV, my audience tonight, and you, the viewer, good night.